What's going on, guys? Junior's Fishing Company. Another deer hair jig today. I've got a 3/8 ounce Northland Tackle Deep V jig. This is like a metallic Chartreuse, and it's a lot brighter than it even showed online. This thing's crazy bright. I was actually thinking about either doing an all black body with a really bright head, or doing a Chartreuse body and just having it be super bright. But this is just crazy flashy already. So I'm actually gonna go with, I blended these two colors together. This is kind of like an olive brown and then just like your standard olive. And so I've blended 3 different stacks of these together just to kind of make like a natural darker bait fish pattern. I'm gonna have an olive Arctic goat tail, just like I did on the last one. And then this flash is not holographic Flashabou. I think it's just original Flashabou. It's like a, it doesn't say what color it is, but it's kind of like an opal, like a green opal or something like that. So I'm gonna put that in. I didn't want anything too crazy flashy, just because this head is pretty absurdly bright. It doesn't even really show up in the camera. So this bait's gonna be probably 5 inches or so, which is about in between my material clip and my brass. And so I just want to kind of go in between, and what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna save this tail section and I'm gonna fold it back, because this is a big jig. It's a really heavy jig, and so I want it to be, I want this tail to be a little bit more full than what I would normally do. So I can kind of get these wrapped down. This is 210 red. I was gonna do, I have an olive 210, but you wouldn't be able to really see it very well. So I'm gonna kind of just, I don't really want to separate this all around my hook. I'm just gonna separate it kind of on that top half or so, and I'm going to get all of this pushed back. Without a push tool it's a little tricky, but I'm actually working on a couple different ways to use a push tool on a jig like this. I've got some stuff in the mail that I'm going to try out, because I'm not this master tire that can just do it perfectly with my hands. I need a little bit of help. So I've got a couple different things I'm going to try. So I'm just going to push that back, and it's just going to add just a micro amount more to that tail. And I can kind of just break off all, oh, it's sliding out. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my first stack of bucktail, and then I'm going to add my flash. But I really got to be careful. This bait keeper will cut my thread, and in the last video it actually did when I was filming. So I want to put 1 deer hair down here and my flash, and then I'm going to try and fit 2 stacks of hair up on there. I think I'm just going to end up just start dremeling these off. I think someone left a comment a while back, that's what they do. So I'm going to give that a try. Because these things, I don't know what Northland is using for their bait keepers, but titanium alloy, I don't know. So I'm going to get thicker as I progress up. And I don't want this to be super long. I want to leave just a little bit of room for my Arctic goat, but I have plenty of room to kind of get these down right before that sharp point, and then I'll get this flash down. You can see this one is more of a brown olive. I kind of tried on each one to make it more one color than the other, just because I want a little bit of pattern. So that I think the next one is a lot of olive, and then the head is going to be a lot of brown But unfortunately that brown tail was kind of, the base of it was kind of junky, but that's alright. So I'll get this down really well, and I gotta really be careful that I don't snap my thread. I mean, if you snap it, you snap it, you just redo it. So I'm gonna put down my flash. I'm not gonna use all of this. I'm gonna probably use 3/4 of it, and then if I want, after this next deer hair, I can add that in. So I'm just gonna taper this out. I just kind of tug them slowly out. And that usually does the trick. And I'll go about as far back as my Arctic goat, because this stuff is really limp, so it's not gonna mat down anything. I can just get that spun around all the way around, get a couple tight wraps, and then I'm going to trim all of this off and do the top of my jig. But again, I don't want a ton, so this might be all I add, and it'll show through because I'm not doing huge thick. Well, actually my last stack is pretty beastly, but I wasn't expecting this head when I ordered these jigs. I ordered like 4 or 5 packs of them, couple 1/8 ounce, couple 1/4 ounce, couple 3/8, and I was not expecting these to have so much flash in them. I mean, black is black, but this one is, you can see it from a mile away. So I'm going to just jump up, get a little bit of a thread base, and then I'm going to put a little bit of super glue down on this tinsel. Just a little bit. So now this next stack is a lot thicker than even that first one, but again, it's got quite a bit of olive in it. The brown just shows up a little bit more. Get some of those shorter ones out of my way. And I'm not going to go as far back as the other one. That tinsel kind of lays it down, so you gotta remember, I'm still cutting a lot of this off. That's the tough thing about these jigs. Well, it's kind of a double-edged sword. You don't have to worry about getting super primo stuff. You know, you don't have to pay $22 for a tail. You can just, you go to Muskie Fool, get a Clouser tail, and you'd be good to go. But at the same time, make sure that this is at least relatively dry. So I'll cord up my thread, and I'm just going to go right by my head. I just want a little tiny gap right in there, because that's where my final wrap is going to go. I'm going to get this pushed around. Just kind of got to go quick and not let that glue stick to the hair. There really shouldn't be much flare in this. There should be a little, maybe a little bit. That brown olive tail doesn't really have much flare in it anywhere. Get that around. Let's see. Yeah, there's really no life in this hair, which is fine. There's a little bit. But I really don't need this to be a super bushy bait. And you could tie this, I did a video a while back of, you know, you pinch and pull down. I think it's like a deceiver or something, but you could do that. I mean, there's a million ways you can tie. That's why I love making deer hair jigs, is because the amount of jigs out there is absurd. And you know, you go to a website like Muskie Fool, and if you go at the right time, I mean, there's like 30 colors that you can pick from. So you can really get, and I don't even know how many Flashabou colors there are. It's endless. So it's a lot of fun just sitting in front of all your stuff. I'm going to trim just this little bit that's sitting right here. And then I don't think I'm going to add any more flash. I'm going to get this last bucktail down. Alright, so I'm at my head. Unfortunately, this brown olive tail, if you look down at the base of this tail, it's like 1 inch little fibers. It's kind of on both sides. It's just kind of crap at the bottom. It's really nice up top, but I don't know what this deer was thinking when it was growing this, because it wasn't going well. So this is going to be interesting when I put this down. I just grabbed a ton, but I don't think there's going to be much flare in this, which is okay. But I'm actually going to tie it in a little bit longer than I normally would, just because this hair is so short. If it's just like this long, it's not really going to bend at all. So I want to make sure I put a decent amount in there. I'm almost not going to cut much of this off at all. And it's a lot of hair, because this is a heavy jig, so I don't have to worry about it affecting the way it sinks in or anything, because 3/8 ounces for just a deer hair jig is pretty heavy. This thing's going to sink like a stone. So I'm going to get that pushed up, get one wrap, and this is just going to spin around. Because this is a lot. The more hair you have on a hook and you pull down, it's just going to naturally spin on its own. It's just like spinning a bass popper or something. You just put a giant wad of deer hair on and cross your fingers. So let's see. If I hold these butts back, there's a little bit in there. But again, I don't need a ton of flare in this jig, because the amount of hair I have in there is going to add the body I need. So I'm going to work my way up toward my head, and I'll trap a couple hairs as I go, but that's alright. And as I get farther up, this collar is probably going to end up being pretty big, which is fine. I try to make them as small as I can. Good old razor blade. I'm going to push it right against that thread and get this little collar out of the way. Alright. Simple, quick, effective. Brown olive and olive chartreuse head jig. Again, this thing, muddy water maybe an overcast day, this will attract whatever you want to. I thought about putting a little rattle back here. I have quite a bit of rattles on my jigs, just because I think a little noise is a good thing, but simple, quick tie. You can put a bunch of these in your box and load it up with as many colors as you can think of. But I like these Northland jigs. Juniors Fishing Company, juniorsfishing.com. See you on the next one.